my vision is sitting around the table with the rest of my team. Everybody's got a glass of beer in his hand, and we're holding it up because we've gotten that great result from that first patient. And we know that somebody's coming home with a smile on their face because the product that we brought to market has made a difference.
BioNeex is the first biopharma R&D open exchange platform for licensing and co-development partnerships of drug candidates. We are working closely with biopharmaceutical companies that are actively seeking preclinical and clinical stage drug candidates for in-licensing and co-development partnerships to expand their R&D pipelines. If you are a development stage biotech company and are looking for licensing and co-development partners for your drug candidates, then list them for free on BioNeex and get contacted directly by these biopharmaceutical companies. We are already working with many partners. Would you like to learn more about BioNeex? Feel free to get in touch with us. We look forward to working with you.
Hello everyone, today we are back again with BioNeex interview. Our guest is today co-founder and CEO of Moexa Pharmaceuticals, Anthony Desir. Hello Anthony, welcome to BioNeex interview today.
Always nice to talk to you, Sampath.
Thank you. Moexa Pharmaceuticals is a preclinical stage biotech company developing new molecular entities and having IPs covering 10 cancers and over 2 billion people worldwide. Anthony, please tell us about Moexa Pharmaceuticals and what makes this development biotech so unique.
Well, Sampath, I'm glad you're introducing us as unique, but I think that all of the biotech companies at the preclinical stage are going to follow the same regulatory path to get their product to market. So that's not what makes us unique. I think what makes us unique is actually our IP, in that we have gotten so far along in our IP that we are the leading company with a TGF SMAD3 signaling security in the world today. We've got that locked out. And our IP covers 10 cancers and 2 billion people worldwide. So basically, on the regulatory side, we still have to do the CMC, we still have to do the ADME, we still have to do the tox and other regulatory filings. But in terms of IP, we're well ahead of everybody else, and that is our unique feature.
Very good. I know strong IPs, it's number one important in biotechs in order to stay competitive in the landscape. But then it brings me to my second question. What's your proprietary platform technology and drug development pipeline, and what kind of drug candidates are there in which indications?
Oh my God. You're asking me the question that I can't answer. And the reason I can't answer that question is because I'm not a scientist. And I'm in the business side of things, but I have a little bit of knowledge and I don't like to step out of my lane because I always say something that's not exactly right. So when you ask the question and the way you ask the question, I always prefer to put my science guys up front and center. Well, what I can say about the product is that we have a unique technology, and the uniqueness of the technology is that it's basically a process which works by switching off the phosphorylation in the SMAD2/3 complex along the TGF-beta SMAD3 signaling pathway, right? I don't want to get into the science. As I said, I'm not a scientist, but that dephosphorylation of the process works in terms of deactivating tumor growth in the cancer microenvironment. And we have the added benefit, which is something that we find really exciting, because when you go beyond the cell apostasis, we have also identified that our product increases NK cell proliferation. And that is an exciting benefit because on the one hand, we're killing cancer cells, but we're also boosting the immune properties of the body overall. And so that's my non-scientific answer. I don't want to go beyond that. When we get to the point where the question comes up, I'd like to have our science team available to answer that in a more direct way.
Thank you, Anthony. Definitely we will get the opportunity to also talk to one of your scientific person in the leadership team. So my next question would be, are you looking for licensing and co-development partnerships for your drug candidate? And who would be your ideal partner? And you are also on Moexa Pharmaceuticals is also on BioNeex. So why you believe that BioNeex also can be helpful on that?
Well, in terms of BioNeex, I think you guys have built a terrific platform, and we're really glad for the opportunity to be in partnership with you because it gives us exposure. That's always useful for a company that's trying to get out of the gate. But it's also done in such a way that we get to showcase the product features that we have in a way that filters out, if you will, people who we don't need to talk to. Because you spend a lot of time and you spend a lot of money trying to go through those Rolodexes to identify who's the ideal partner. And I think that you guys are helping us in that way. I really appreciate it. But in terms of what the right partner for us would be, we are looking at a pharma partnership, probably an in-license deal with pharma. And I'll get into that more when we talk about that later. But the thing that we've identified is that in order for us to advance the product further, we need to get a higher level of our data suite. We certainly need to do some more proof of concept. We need to do the CMC, the ADME, as I've suggested, et cetera, tox studies, all of those things. And the reason why we haven't been able to cut a deal yet is because the pharma is asking us to provide those data sets to complete the process. We've been talking with one pharma who we approached, and then we have another major pharma who approached us. So once we've completed the data suite, which is what we're raising money for, but once we've completed the data suite, we're quite excited about the possibility of getting that deal done with a pharma partner.
Thank you, Anthony. For certain, it's a great horizon for any investor. I think that they will join at this stage because you have already in perspective potential partners that will come once the data you have, and not lots of biotechs having such an opportunity. So well done, Anthony. And then, knowing your amazing leadership, I also want to ask you, what is the next milestone that you as a CEO now working with your team together to reach? Thank you.
It's milestones. I'm glad you used that word because for us, the next milestone is certainly funding, and funding that gets us to the point where we can get to first in human trials. Actually, in terms of our decks and our presentation, we have it defined as such because we have our funding scheme structured in a milestone plan. And that's very, very clear because we'd like to give comfort to our investors that if they're partnering with us, there's a commitment to fund all the way through to the end of the process, but there's no commitment for them to continue funding if we can't prove the value of what we have. So we've broken it up into very clear steps, 4 steps essentially, getting us to clinical trial, identifying tightly what the budgets are for each of those steps. And so an investor coming in with us now can make a relatively small bet to identify in a short time. And I would say that's probably within 6 to 8 months, whether or not they've hit on a winner. And so that's what the milestone process is for us in terms of the funding. And the first major milestone, quite clearly, is the CMC. With what we've done with the syndication, partner coming in here would probably be at most risking around $1 million or so. But at that point, we've got the proof of concept. We already know that we have the potential partners structured, waiting for the data that we're going to be assembling from that. And so the value of the company will change materially in a very short time with that support.
Mm-hmm. So you already touched your funding situation, and then you are raising money. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? How well the company is currently funded and how much you have raised so far? And in case for the next round, what are you looking for?
Okay, yeah, I want to start not so much with how much we're raising, but I'm going to start with where we've come with this, because we licensed the technology from the Chinese University of Hong Kong. And at that point, the product had been supported with $32 million in R&D grants, 17 million of which came from NIH. We, as founding partners, myself and the other partners involved in the process, have put in cash and work in kind over the last few years of just relatively close, somewhere just south of $6 million. So that's been the funding that's gotten us to this point. In order to get us to the next point, which is where we've completed the IND process and we've started the clinical trial process, we need about $4.5 million. We don't really want to start that process until we know we have the funds, or at least a commitment from a quality partner who can provide the funding to get us through that completed process. Because one of the worst things you can do is start the process, hit a milestone, and even though the milestone was successful, you are going back out to start raising money to go to the next milestone. And that it's not just a frustrating process, it's an incomplete process. And it actually gets more expensive, more complicated, and takes more time. And so that's why we're focusing on trying to find a partner who will get us from start to finish. So we need about $4.5 million to complete the first 3 phases of the milestone. We need about $6.5 million to get us through the first phase of clinical trials. We're in partnership with a major CRO who has already budgeted and spec'd this. We've cross-checked everything. We know that it's going to work. And then we can start that process. The seamlessness of this is that if we have the funding commitment, not the funds, but the funding commitment, then we know we can go through a seamless process and actually begin the human clinical trials process, which is a lot of actual data work rather than actually injecting a drug into someone or giving them a tablet. And that can start in about 18 months. So that we will hit the schedule. So that's roughly the background on the process. On syndication, so far, we've raised about 3.6 million. We have syndicated partners who've committed that they would be putting in $3.6 million. What we're really looking for at this point is a lead investor. And that would be one party that comes in and manages the term sheet, the due diligence process, et cetera, and completes the negotiation for the other partners in syndication. So once we have that, we're ready to go. And as I said, it's certainly done on a milestone basis. So it's really a question of, once we know that that partner could complete that funding process, they're only committed to funding the first milestone. And once we hit the targets and the timeline on that first milestone, we're off and running.
Thank you, Anthony. So I just want to, given a short overview, what I understand, basically, you already have committed investors in the syndication. You just need a lead investor who will come and then lead the round and due diligence. You have a great CRO as a partner who already give a quite, confidence to you that the process will be done, right? So it's a quite good achievement, I think, for any type of investor to come at this round. There is a very little uncertainty. And, if you believe that, if we believe that there is any way we can be helpful to that, we will be more than happy to do that. And, BioNeex is always not only coming for a partnership and co-development, and but also for bringing potential investors to our client companies.
Well, I don't want to oversell this, because I don't want to say there's very little risk. I mean, there's always risk. But what we think there's managed risk. And the management of the risk here is that for a partner who's coming in that's able to fund us through the completion of the process, their initial commitment is a relatively small sum. And that would be about $1 million, given what we've done on the syndication and given what the cost of that first milestone will be. At the end of that first milestone, we essentially have proof of concept. And quite frankly, with that proof of concept, we've already identified with the potential pharma partners that we're talking to that we can take this further. There's one point I missed, and I don't want us to get out of this interview without talking about this, because one of the things that we think is a shortcut for us to get the product to market is actually the coactive properties of the NCE and the product that we have. And there are a lot of companies, particularly pharmas, which will explain why the pharma partners would be interested in us. There are a lot of majors who've spent a considerable sum. I think the pharma spend, as we've been able to identify for the last 20 years or so, is over $41 billion just on R&D. They have spent most of that money, roughly about 26 billion, on large molecules. There's not a lot of money that's been spent on a small molecule product, which is what we have. And our small molecule product, if it's paired with one of the large molecule products that are in the more advanced stages of development, can help enhance and improve that product. And so that for the pharma partners is a terrific boost to their bottom line, especially in a competitive environment where they're dealing with other pharma partners that have products. So the one that can bring our product along with us, pair it with one of their large molecule products, certainly will have something that's extreme value to them, and that enhances our product value to us.
Yes, yes, that's a great also value proposition for any partner that want to come and do the co-development together. So Anthony, we are now approaching the end of our interview. I want to ask always the last question I ask our CEOs. What is the vision for Moexa Pharmaceuticals?
I got to tell you, I mean, my vision.
Your vision, and the company's leadership and board vision.
My vision is sitting around the table with the rest of my team. Everybody's got a glass of beer in his hand, and we're holding it up because we've gotten that great result from that first patient. And we know that somebody's coming home with a smile on their face because the product that we brought to market has made a difference. And I'm really excited about that. I'm looking forward to that day. Sure, we want to make money. Let's not kid ourselves about that. But just the knowledge that we have got something unique that can make a difference and that we will be making a difference is something that I very much look forward to. For the team, they've put in a lot of work on this. I mean, you've seen the extraordinary results that we've had on the IP, and that's a credit to our leadership with our partner and co-founder, Dr. Tim Letters, who's one of the leading IP experts in Asia. And he's done extraordinary work with that. And Dr. Lowe, who's developed the NCE. So with the team that we have, right, we've put that effort in, and we really want to see this work. We want to see the results of it. So it's exciting for us, and we just want to have that right partnership. In terms of whether or not we're going to take the product, we keep getting this question: when are you going to list the product? Or, are you taking it to market? Well, that's not part of our vision, because where we were able to do an in-license deal with a pharma partner at the point where we've gotten the data that we're looking for, we probably don't even need another round of funding.
Very good. Very good. I strongly believe to your leadership and vision. I know you are not, new in this business. You are quite experienced, Anthony. And is there anything else that you want to use the last couple of seconds to add? Probably I didn't got the chance to ask you.
I don't know if there's anything you didn't get a chance to ask me, but I love working with you guys. And I really appreciate the opportunity to have had this. It's not a partnership in terms of a capital partnership, but it's certainly a marketing partnership. And for us, it's been a successful marketing partnership, one that we appreciate. And we would like to thank you and your team for the support that you've given us to help us bring this out of the gate.
Thank you, Anthony. And we love working with you. It's amazing to have Moexa part of BioNeex platform. And we are quite confident that Moexa is going to be one of the most successful our biotech clients. I want to remind once again our audience, today is our guest was co-founder and CEO of Moexa Pharmaceuticals, Anthony Desir. Moexa Pharmaceuticals is a preclinical stage biotech company developing new molecular entities, having IPs covering 10 cancers and over 2 billion people worldwide.